you got zero point 0.1 seconds to communicate what your business does as someone drives by and sees it on a billboard. But now it's like it's scrolling online is how much time do you really have before they scroll past.
Well, I heard this in another interview. Can you confirm you have people from other gyms buy your stuff? That's how cool your stuff is?
People do make gut decisions based on a first impression, and they do compare online.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host, John Franklin, coming back from a short break due to COVID.
Coming back from the dead. Yeah, we missed you too, but we held it down for you. Don't worry.
And you can hear and probably see my partner in crime, who's been a phenomenal host, leading the charge while I was gone, Mateo Lopez, who's coming at you live from Los Angeles, California, which is why he looks so smiley this morning. But it's not about Mateo today. Oh, maybe it is. What do you got to say, Teo?
I was just gonna say I'm your golden boy coming in from the Golden State. That's it. Yeah.
Oh wow. We're gonna be talking about branding today. So have you been thinking about that one?
I have nonstop.
Okay, great.
Nice.
And our guest this week is none other than the famous Milena Herbacca. How'd I do?
Bacca.
How'd I do with the pronunciation? Herbacca. We're trying our hardest here. And Milena is the owner and founder of New Redesign. She's worked with previous Gym World guests, getting their branding on point, helping them promote their events. We're going to be talking about all elements of branding and gym promotion. And she is also a gym owner of a Muay Thai gym in Ontario, like every martial arts studio owner that we talk to. So you can see that we work in clusters here. All our gym owners are in New Jersey. All our martial arts people are in Ontario. So Milena, welcome to the show. Tell us how you started as a designer and then pivoted into gym ownership.
Yeah. Long story short, I got into design pretty young in life. I've always been the artistic one in my family and social group. And so, from even elementary school, I was doing contests and designing ads by hand, a lot of hand-drawn elements. I was an illustrator for a long time. I did a lot of painting and fine art, and I dabbled in that area just as a hobby. So naturally, when I was exiting the high school education sphere, I went into the arts, and I just jumped right into a graphic design program in college. I did 3 years there, and then immediately started working in the field professionally. And that was 15 years ago. So it's been a journey of self-development and growth. And most of it has been as a self-employed business owner individual. So I have had, unfortunately, very little mentorship along the way in my design field, but I've definitely made connections in the martial arts industry throughout that same journey that have stuck with me till today.
And what's the difference between, I know you have a branding and design company. So what's the difference between branding and then like marketing, or maybe what gym owners might think of as advertising?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's really important to kind of define these terms so that people can have educated conversations and really just drill down into what they actually need from a professional, because they can get muddy. So what I like to specialize in is branding. And the branding is a really holistic worldview of somebody's business and how it's presented to their demographic. And so when I get on a consult call, I interview a potential client. I really try to get into their brains about, why did you even start this business? Like, talk to me about your passions, your dreams, your goals, and then talk to me about how your business is or not aligning with all of that big picture. So it's a really grand view of the strategy for the presentation of the business brand. And is it fueling where you're going forward, or is it holding you back? And so that's kind of like how I've honed my senses over the years of working with branding clients, is being able to put my finger on, that's a bit of a red flag and might be holding you back in obtaining, presentation with this demographic or this group of people that you want to reach. And so I can come in and kind of tweak and massage things. And sometimes we just throw it all out and do an overhaul. And say, okay, we got to start fresh with this because it's dated, or it just wasn't done well in the first place and it's holding you back. it's keeping you from growing at the pace that you're ready for. That's a lot of what the conversations that I have with people. So that's branding in a nutshell. It encompasses a logo design, typically. Unless they're really well set up with a professional logo that's working well, I'm not going to change it for the sake of changing it. I'll leave things as they are. But we might then look at how's your online presence, and does it to correspond well with the rest of your brand? Does anything need to be improved there? How is your social media presence? How are your lead funnels? And we just bring that all up to par together to meet a standard for performance under one brand umbrella. So that's branding. It's extremely, like I said, holistic. We look at a lot of areas of the business and bring it all together. And that's my main gig as a brand strategist. And that's how I primarily coach people, gym owners and business owners. And then you asked what the difference might be between branding and marketing. So the marketing portion is a segment of branding. So consider branding to be a really big umbrella. And within the branding umbrella is the segment of marketing. And the marketing is a designated special skill that I will take on, or will outsource that to a skilled persons for marketing. And they will take in our brand strategy and they'll learn it. And then they'll apply it to social media posts. They'll apply it to podcasts. They'll apply it to reels, anything that shows up online, even event marketing. We create sub brands, which is like a sister brand to the main business for an event that they might be holding, so that there is relation there, but it also can stand alone as its own brand as well. So that's a whole other beast. And we could have a whole conversation about event branding and how that's different from branding a business. But hopefully that helps provide some clarity.
So we may have jumped over it, but you own a martial arts studio in addition to your branding agency. How did that come to be?
Yeah, so I'm a student of martial arts since 2012. I was in my early 20s when I joined a Muay Thai gym in Ottawa, Ontario, because my boyfriend at the time was doing jiu-jitsu, and my dad is also a professional boxer. So I've always had combat sports in my life growing up, but I really started to apply myself in my early 20s. And so I joined this gym and I really fully committed. I competed for a little while. I then kind of plateaued in Muay Thai and switched over to jiu-jitsu for a couple of years. Sustained quite a few injuries and took a break, and then went back to Muay Thai. And I actually met my current husband at the gym I joined back then. We started dating and we've been together for 10 years now, married for 5. We just celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary last week. And
congrats.
Yeah,
nice.
Thank you so much. Again, we can have a whole conversation about what it's like to run a business with your spouse. It's an adventure for sure, an adventure in testing compatibility. But essentially, we moved to Kemptville, which is a small town south of Ottawa by about 30 minutes south of the capital of Canada. And we bought our first house together here in 2019, and we opened our gym in the same year that we got married, bought our house, and opened our gym. And my husband, his name is Yuki Yamanaka. He goes by Crew Yuki. He's a designated crew by Crew Jeff Harrison, who runs New Era Combat Sports in Ottawa. And so he's kind of like our lineage. So he actually quit his career as a structural engineer of 10 years to open our Muay Thai gym. And then we got hit by the pandemic. So that was fun. So we opened in 2019. We're open for about 6 months and then had to close for the first time. And then was a very tumultuous period for the first 2 years of operating. But we're here, very alive and well today.
Did you have the branding design company first? Or they kind of came together? Okay, so you were doing that prior to the gym.
It was so by 2019 when we opened the gym, I had been doing graphic design professionally for 9 years. Yeah, about 9 years. Yeah, so I was well established in my own industry by then. Yes.
And were you already working with gyms, or did it happen after you opened your own gym?
Yeah, good question. I was weaseling my way into the gym community as a student in my martial arts school, and I'm always kind of pestering the owner to let me design their stuff because it was always just terrible. And gym owners, and we're working on this with our clients also, they're developing an appreciation for the value of design. And I found that, and I still find today, that it's often a struggle to ask gym owners to pay for design work, because they'll always have a student among their student base that will do it for free or as an exchange of services. And they're not always the best option. So it's good to pay. You get what you pay for, friends. But I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I answered the question.
No, yeah. I mean, that is another question I had, which was, yeah, I mean, like, I can imagine it is tough explaining the value of a brand package, especially when it's hard to quantify, right? If you run a Facebook ad or a Google ad, it's a little bit easier to do the math, right? You can spend some money on a campaign. You can see what a lead ended up costing you, and then you can figure out how many of those you ended up selling or not, and figure out what it was worth to you and what your ROI was. And so for your logo, for your branding, like your presence on social media, your presence inside the gym, it's super important. It creates like continuity, and it also helps to build that trust that you need with your client. In that this is a professional establishment and we look good, and and the service we're giving you matches our appearance, right? But it's harder to do the math. So how do you have that conversation? How do you explain this is going to be worth it and it's important?
Yeah, absolutely. I draw on a lot of personal real life examples of the effects it's had in my own gym business. And I've also compared clients of mine before and after. So before the rebrand, after the rebrand, and how much performance jumps right after that. And also opens up the eyes of the client to the potential for new revenue generators following a rebrand. So something I like to talk about a lot is what a lot of people don't think about. How can you apply a rebrand within your gym to make you money immediately after the logo's designed? So real case study, we just redesigned a logo for Cal Samrit Martial Arts in Bowmanville, Ontario. And they're an extremely established gym. They've been around for 13 years. They have a community. I can't even begin to estimate how many students they have, but it's far greater than we do. Big facility.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, you would know. Big facility. All the bells and whistles. It's certainly a high-end training experience. However, even they knew, non-brand professionals, non-design professionals, they knew their brand was holding them back. So a lot of people instinctively know when something about their business is dated or not operating to standard. And so your brand is also a bit of a gut check. Yeah, I can't use a formula to point at numbers and say, this is how much money a rebrand is going to make you. But I can tell you how insanely successful it's been for my clients and for ourselves. And all the ways that you can tangibly implement your brand to redesign merchandise, redesign very expensive gear that everyone will repurchase with the new logo applied to it, and so on and so forth. Even just having a rejuvenated brand presence online is going to catch the eyes of people who may have overlooked you in the past and just open them up as a new demographic again, and revisit people that have come in the gym previously and reinvite them to experience the new brand. I mean, I'm just spitballing. There's just an unlimited number of ways that you can be creative in exercising a new brand to your advantage in revenue streams.
So if you're listening, I have the old logo actually pulled up on the screen right now. Teo, what do you see? Maybe explain it to the listeners.
Well, there's a lot going on. You got, it seems like I'm looking at some kind of a seal of like a royal seal, gold, black, a big K. It might just be my screen size. Can't really read the bottom part. Oh, okay. What's it in a different language? That's why, but that's fine. It's in a different language.
Yeah.
In squiggly.
Yeah.
There's some lions. There's some martial arts people kicking. And pretty standard issue.
Oh, there are martial arts people kicking. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
This is what we like to call over-designed.
Yes, that makes sense. There's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Too much going on.
So, and then this is the one you made. So explain kind of the process of cleaning this up. You can read it now. That's good.
I mean, that's number one.
You can read it now.
As a device, right? As a communication tool in telling people what you do as a business. So that's number one. If people can't tell, and we're not even talking about driving past a billboard anymore, which was the metaphor used when I was going to school, is you got 0.1 seconds to communicate what your business does as someone drives by and sees it on a billboard. But now it's like it's scrolling online is how much time do you really have before they scroll past your brand to make an impression and be memorable. And you can't be memorable if your eye can't even settle on one element of your brand to take it in and figure out, because your brain is extremely powerful. And as it's taking in a visual, the fewer the elements that are necessary to communicate what you do and a little bit of your culture, it's going to latch onto that and create an impression on your demographic. But you don't want to overwhelm them with information. They're just going to be confused about what they're looking at. They're going to try too hard. That's mental fatigue. They're going to get a bad feeling from that. It's going to feel confusing, off-putting. If any of those things resonate with you, you might be a good candidate for a rebrand.
Do you always start with the logo? It seems like that was in both the case studies here. That was the first starting point.
We do always start with the logo. The logo is the most simple device of the whole brand strategy. And it's also the foundation. So a lot of brand elements come from the logo itself, but it needs to be extremely well handled and respected as the most consistent branding element. We can play with other things. Like we play a lot with graphic styles, with the even with fonts. Sometimes I don't like to stray too much from fonts, but sometimes we will play with fonts. We'll play with color palette for sure. But the logo is always consistently the same. Like it will very rarely adapt to different scenarios. We'll give the client different versions of their logo that fit in different spaces the best. But ultimately, this is the fixed element that remains the point of trust in a business, where anytime I see this, I know I'm getting the real deal. And if I see it anywhere that's different or tweaked, or if it's, tilted on its side, or some of the elements are removed or elements are added, that trust gets broken really quickly. And it's all subconscious.
I was just going to say, I just like that you incorporated still stuff from the old logo, right? You still have the lions there. You still have the big K. But it is cleaner. It's easier to read and understand. And it's just cooler. Yeah. You can tell by vibes. It's just cooler.
That's the goal. The goal is not just to clean things up and modernize it, but also leave an impression and indicate to people that we do have a culture here and we're more interesting. So come check us out, hear the story, learn more about the business. The logo is not intended to tell the whole story. And that's what the over-designed old version was trying to do. They were trying to tell you that we're elitist because of, the banners and the crest. And we're also grungy though. And we work in like a dirty space. And so we have some paint splatter, and we're also martial artists. So here's 2 back-to-back silhouettes. And we also have our roots in Thailand. So here are some tigers that represent Asia, but are also like an animal representation of our character. And then here's some Thai words. So yes, it tells a really deep story, but it's just the wrong placement for that story to be told. That story can be told in a long format social post. It can be told in a reel. It can be told in the website on the about page. The logo is not the place for it.
The new one looks more premium anyway. Like if you're looking at the two, it seems like, you would pay more to go to this gym without knowing anything else.
Thank you. And there's the value right there.
The next thing I see is you did custom merch. So martial arts studios, like how much of revenue comes from merch? I feel like we have, if you're listening, there's gloves or shin guards, there's tie shorts, a t-shirt, and then full on track suits.
Yeah, and that just scratches the surface. We did 3 times as much material for them. Just didn't have the time to present them all, but it's ongoing as well. So with each season, my own gym, we currently have 3 items up for pre-order within our student base, and those forms are filled. And we have a small student base comparatively, but anytime you release something new that appears professionally designed and someone wants to wear it, they do it from a place of supporting and representing the culture and brand of their community. It's not just that they want the new tie shorts. It's that they want the tie shorts because people will notice it on them and make that immediate distinction that, okay, they belong to that community, to that brand. And so that's brand loyalty for you. People will develop greater brand loyalty, and they'll be quicker to jump on new products that you release because you've done it professionally, you've done it well, and they just are so eager to adopt that culture of your brand and be a part of it.
Well, I heard this in another interview. Can you confirm you have people from other gyms buy your stuff? That's how cool your stuff is?
Yeah, it's so funny. My husband and I, like, he is the head Muay Thai instructor, and so he coaches all of our competitors, but I'll go along to the events and sometimes I'll corner as a second. But I get to hear the conversations between other gyms, competitors, and our team, and even like private conversations in the warm-up room where we are getting constantly complimented on our gear. We have a special line of competition shorts that we pull out just for special events that when people see them, their eyes bug out of their heads. And they absolutely love our look so much that even though it's plastered with our Boss Thai Boxing logo, other competitors from other gyms will buy our shorts. And if we sold them online, we would probably sell 10 times as much. Currently for us, it's a staffing issue. Otherwise, we would totally be selling our merch online because it flies off the rack.
So like what % of your revenue comes from merch?
That's a really good question. I would have to guess on that. I don't know the actual figure, but if you consider for every new member we sign, we sell them a starter package. And that's like the baseline requirement for joining our gym. They require gloves, they require a t-shirt, and they require our Thai shorts because the only program we run right now is Muay Thai. So the possibilities are even greater if you're a multidisciplinary gym and you sign somebody up for Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai and a fitness program, then you can sell them on even more gear right out the gate. So with that client acquisition, you're not just looking at how much money is this person going to bring in their membership. Right out their gate, you're getting a little revenue, actually quite a large revenue injection for every new member that you sign. And then for us, it's seasonally that we release new merch. So it could be as little as a new t-shirt or a tank top coming for the summertime. In the winter, we do a lot leading up to Christmas. Like right now, we have limited edition Thai shorts, which are beautiful, that are just being eaten up right now. They're not even there physically yet, but I've done like photorealistic mock-ups, which is also something not a lot of designers know how to do. But my mock-ups, when I design a pair of shorts or a t-shirt or a tracksuit, they're from a photo. So people can visualize what the end product is really going to look like, and it gets them really excited about that. So as long as you have a strategy and somewhat of a schedule for injecting new merchandise into your community on a seasonal basis, it's become now a very reliable source of income outside of memberships. To a pretty drastic degree. I mean, we actually have a commission program where we gift our staff for hitting membership. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically goalposts every month, but we don't include the revenue from merch on that because we would be giving them thousands of dollars a month in commission if we did. So it's quite a bit of revenue for us.
Like, what does that run, a starter kit?
Yeah, so our starter kits is given a 15% discount. So I think it's just under $300.
So you'll do that in addition to whatever, like what is a membership's like 300 as well?
Yeah, our memberships are bi-weekly. And if you're going in for like the most common membership type is an all access adult Muay Thai, it's, oh my goodness, $79.99 every 2 weeks. Yeah.
So 150. So it's almost like you're collecting 2 additional months worth of revenue just from the merch.
That's right. And then, if you're setting up kids with merch, they grow in a year outside of all of their gear. They have to buy new gear.
They have to buy new stuff.
Yeah.
You know that, John, right? You know about that?
Spending money? Yeah, all about it.
But
kids.
like we get
on
a lot
children
of
that grow. Yeah.
Yeah. We get a lot of parents. We're a big hockey community. So a lot of parents that are like, they only just put their kids in hockey by default. They're paying 10 times more on gear than they would in Muay Thai.
They're conditioned to spending thousands of dollars on uniforms and gear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Here, we can do like a little visual example because I was just curious if we had a Muay Thai gym by us in Jupiter. So I just pulled up the map. So this is Milena's website. Obviously looking very clean, a lot of social proof, stories about the brand. Everyone's wearing their shorts and stuff. Looks pretty good. Now, this is I just did Muay Thai near me. This is what we got.
Oh, yeah.
And So,
Take
you know,
That
you can
yellow and black is very, very nice.
and red with a blue logo of another busy logo. And then it
And
looks
some
like this is a
orange.
picture of not in the gym. This is a different gym. So yeah, I mean, just looking, if you're watching on the internet, and sorry if you're the owner of this gym, please don't beat me up. I go to this shopping plaza frequently. Yeah, you just make a lot of snap judgments. Like for me, who's someone that's not familiar with martial arts, looking at the two businesses, like assuming they're in the same market, you probably want to go to Boss because it just looks a little more professional. It explains a little bit more about what's going on. You can see photos of the space, and there's just like it's just like cohesive. And so we don't really know anything about the coaching. Like this website here could have, this could be the best Muay Thai instructor in the entire world for all I know, but it's very difficult to tell just by the way the brand is being presented in the future. So if you had, I'm assuming this is what most of your clients look like when they come to you.
Yes. Often they're just a little bit better off because they've already been working with, say, a business coach who's set them up with a very templated website. My job as a custom designer is to make it unique to them. And so that's why my web designs can come in at a slightly higher price tag than what they would maybe expect or have come to know. And that's because you get the custom treatment. But again, you get what you pay for. And I think you really said something really important that I'm often just a little too shy to say out loud, but you're absolutely right. And that is that people do make gut decisions based on a first impression, and they do compare online. And people are just smarter in their research now than they've been in any previous generation. And when we talk to people who've finally made it in the door, they've already decided 3 steps ago that they were going to join because they've already decided by the time they come in and try their first class. And you don't want to let your website be that representation of your gym, the only representation that's going to sell them on whether they become a member or not.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone talks about GMB, and the reality is like having good reviews is important, but it's just like a baseline, right? Like all I did was put up like Muay Thai near me, and then everyone's kind of every single one that shows up is above 4.5 stars. So like that's just like the baseline. Anything that's lower than I'd say probably a 4.7 is going to be a red flag. So it's a disqualifier. Having bad Google reviews is a disqualifier, but having good Google reviews doesn't necessarily set you apart anymore because most people know if it's a coaching gym, they have your phone number, they have your kids' names, they know what they look like. You're not going to leave a nasty review like it's some restaurant that you went to once in a foreign city, never going back again, right? So, the things that are really going to be the qualifiers are you're gonna pull up. This was the one we just looked at. You're gonna pull up some of the pictures to see what's going on. Like, is it clean? Are there elements of professionalism? Is this a place I would want to send my children, or is this a place as like a late 30s guy? Am I going to go in here and get hurt? And then the next piece is obviously the website. And so, the pictures are the qualifier. It gets you to the website, but then this is where you win people over.
Yeah.
And so, I've been clicking a few here. It looks like there's plenty of work, but I'm assuming it said your website start at 10,000.
That's right.
So I'm assuming you had struggled to get martial arts gyms paying that unless they're already working with a business coach and making some money coming in the door.
Yes, I find actually that where I struggle the most in selling that price tag to people is not all gym owners are alike. It's the ones that have already invested in their business, that have renovated the space to look professional, that have likely already undergone the branding portion with me and invested in that. And then they're like, let's just keep this ball rolling. So what else do we need to do right? So they've already subscribed to the notion that working with a professional is going to garner the best results. And whatever price tag that comes at, the immediate turnover is going to pay for itself.
Well, that's kind of the rub, right? The people who need this the most are probably the gyms that are struggling the most, right? Like I'm assuming that site we saw before, it's not like that person probably doesn't think they have an amazing website. They probably just don't have, $20,000 to put together a cohesive brand package. So, when you talk about ROI, you talk of clients, and, a guy like Brendan who's doing a couple $1,000,000, if he changes his logo, he changes his website, and he sees like a 10% bump in conversion, he's already got all the back end systems filled in. So that's just, he can pay an investment like that back really quickly. Where someone who's struggling, doesn't have their pricing dialed in, doesn't have their sales process dialed in, they may see an uptick, they may get more calls, but they just really, it's going to take them a lot longer to see a return on investment for something like that, because they just don't have the business isn't ready to take on that type of growth. So it's kind of this weird thing where the best get better and the worst kind of have to claw for the scraps at the bottom.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a trend that I've seen also in business owners that believe that the branding is a one and done kind of band-aid fix to all of their problems. It all disintegrates really quickly as soon as I leave the building. Figuratively. So like as soon as the new design package is delivered to them, I'm like, okay, have fun. You got everything you need to now roll out new merch, to either come back to me for web design or take this and go seek out a web designer to rehaul your social media. But like, these are your next steps. And I almost coach them through it. Like, I'm not a coach, but I will. And what I've seen the failures happen the most is when we've completed this incredibly successful rebrand, and then they implement the bare minimum and then just let it all melt away and don't actually use it. Or worse, they start implementing it, but they make changes right out the gate. Like it's no longer has integrity. A lot of clients, when they don't hear me say it's important to maintain brand consistency, or maybe they just don't fully understand what that means, they will just start changing it themselves. They'll just play with different fonts. They'll start changing the logo that they just invested quite a bit of money to have a professional do. Some people get it and some people don't.
We know that with our own website service that we offer. Yes, happens all the time. Since we are talking about money, what's the problem with hiring a designer on Fiverr to make your logo, or to create the templates for your social media posts, or to design your WordPress site?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's a really controversial topic, and it kind of goes hand in hand with AI, which is really taking off. And I have a really clear judgment of that too. And I'm not for or against any of those tools. I'm not black and white. There's a place for everything. And even I was using AI to do a voiceover for me the other day for marketing for a different client. So there is a place for everything, but you have to be honest with yourself. Do you really believe that someone on Fiverr that you paid $5 to design a logo by is going to equip you with a product that's robust enough to handle your growing martial arts school or your gym, or set you up for the next 10 years? But working with a professional actually interviews you and considers all of your goals, the depth of your demographic, what your gym space even looks like. They go into your culture. With Fiverr, they don't have time because you haven't invested in that. And it's great as a tool for limited time framed, small lifespan projects. So use Fiverr to have someone design your Instagram stories that literally live for 24 hours. That's a good use of the tool. Or to design some posts for you that you need to do in bulk. So that way a template is actually serving you in that sense. But a template is not going to serve you in something as individual and important and special to your business as your brand. That should be completely unique.
If you can't afford an expert, if you can't work with someone like you, like what's a good starting point? If you got to kind of go it at your own, or use cheaper consultants, how do you get like the 60% of the way there?
I think of it a little differently on this. So first of all, I can't speak for all designers of my pedigree, but I do offer payment plans to allow my services to be more accessible, because I do want to help the underdog. I want to help the people that are literally just opening their business. So I will let them pay off a logo design over a year if they need to. That doesn't bother me. Other options are, if you are just starting off and you haven't budgeted for the professional branding, try to find someone you can either sell shares in your company to in exchange for that work, or make them a partner in your business. It could be a silent partner in your business. I have a lot of experience with partnerships in our mixed businesses. So that's something we could talk about also. But there are just many creative options in inviting the right people in that actually care about the success of your business rather than taking the cheap and easy route that is just going to hold you back. But if any of those options are just completely off the table, and let's say you have a $100 budget for a logo design just to get your business off the ground, go to a university student, go to a college student, because even they have better insight. They've had instruction on how to approach a professional rebrand, and they might have a couple of years already of experience under their belt. I started professionally designing for paying clients in just my second year of college. And I'm still quite proud of the work to this day. But you can find a lot of talent in student bases, and they don't know what to charge yet. So if you offered them $100, $250 for a logo design, they would love that experience.
Well, so then, yeah, I mean, another question I had on this is like logos, branding, colors. These are all things that are like pretty hard to figure out, especially if you're like looking at a blank slate. If you are like a new gym just starting out, it kind of reminds me of the same challenges you run into when you're trying to figure out the name of like a product or service or your gym. So how do you start to identify what your brand is?
That's fun. That's like the most fun stage outside of the actual design. That's so fun. I'll just tell the story of how we landed on Boss Thai Boxing for our gym.
Great.
So my husband, my husband is of Japanese and Vietnamese lineage, and first generation Canadian. And when he was competing, and you know, he's the head instructor, and he was the only staff member when we opened also. So that's something you got to look at, is like, what personal traits and qualities do I have to bring to the table that could intrigue people? Well, in this small town that we're operating in, you don't have a lot of Asian folk, and we're teaching an Asian martial art. So a lot of people mistake him for Thai. And so what we wanted to do was make it very clear that he is Japanese. And we actually used the symbolism of like a kabuki mask or like a samurai as our logo. And we really played with that. I've actually gone through a couple iterations of the original logo since we opened. If you dig far enough, you might be able to find an old one online. But I did our original logo on our couch watching TV one night. I was just doodling in a sketchbook, and it just resonated with us. So again, it's a gut check thing. There's no right or wrong answer. As long as it does perform under duress, under the basic principles of a logo design, be creative and like pull from your personal history. What's your story? Like, why are you in this industry? And if you yourself as a partner, as an owner of the business, are completely detached, say you're not running the day-to-day, you're not the face of the business, that could be a scenario. Make yourself unique and tell a story. So look at your competition. Don't do what they're doing. Do something completely different, something to make you stand out, and come up with a culture that you think people that you're targeting will really fall in love with and want to latch onto, and then find symbolism there that works as a brand.
So let's take a turn here. Let's talk about Bushido. So you help other people. In Brendan's episode, we talked about how he's selling out arenas, doing these big events. You do events yourself, and some of the numbers I think I saw, it was like you had 650 attendees at one, 750 attendees at another, and tickets were like $40-$50. Am I reading that right?
That's all correct. Yeah. In our first year, so we've done it 3 years in a row now on the same weekend in July for consistency. People can plan for it. Our first event was so successful. We had people messaging our page asking when the next one was, like within the week of it ending. They just wanted more so badly. And again, like, we were lucky to hit a completely untapped martial arts demographic for Muay Thai enthusiasts. They didn't know what Muay Thai was. So when we offered Bushido, the live Muay Thai experience, and granted, this is all amateur. So like 9 out of 10 fights on our card were completely padded up. And it wasn't even like the prettiest Muay Thai, because a lot of them were green. And because it was our first year hosting this show, a lot of the talent in our local area were already spoken for on other more established shows. So I won't go as low as to say we had to scrape the bottom of the barrel by any means, but we had a very green show when we first started. And yet we marketed the hell out of it. We positioned ourselves as if we'd been doing this for 10 years. We made ourselves look like we were super established. And of course, the professional design work speaks for itself. But we pulled out all the stops in the arena itself. We literally operate out of a hockey arena that costs us $2,000 to rent for 48 hours. So we were able to really inject a lot of investment into the production itself. So, we brought in the lights, we brought in a professional sized ring. We hired a professional MC. We hired a ring girl who was very tasteful. We just recruited tons of volunteers. So there were bodies everywhere if anyone needed anything. We had so many people show up to help for free with the setup and the teardown that we were done everything ahead of schedule. And it was just a very low stress event to run. But aside from all the logistics, what made the event especially successful was that 3 months before, we hit the pavement looking for sponsors. So we hit up other local businesses that would directly benefit from these advertising opportunities from the show, and people we had done business with personally. So we're also, real estate investors, my husband and I. So we hit up any contractors, construction crews, even kitchen and window supply companies that had helped us with our personal projects in the past. And they were so fast to jump on board with sponsorships that we sold out of sponsorships before we even hit our deadline. And we've continued to do so every year following. But that's given us like the financial padding to invest in the quality of the show. So we'll order expensive trophies. We'll do medals for the second place athletes also. And we've been to, my husband and I have been to more shows than we could count in our martial arts career. And so we know when it's done well and we know when it's not done well. So there's a lot of experience between us. And we put on a really fantastic show every year, and it just increases the numbers substantially every time we do it. And not only that, but we can now increase the cost of admission because people know the value of the show and they're willing to pay a little bit more. So that's what we plan on doing next year, just to keep up with the economy and the cost of running it, because all the prices have gone up. But yeah, we're able to do that because it's such a success. And it all starts with the soft stuff, which is the online marketing. And it's the whole sub-brand that we developed, which is the sub-brand of Bushido. And it's a riff off of the Japanese way of the warrior. It's, when we talk about Bushido in our gym culture, we talk about a competitor of high degree of honor, respect, loyalty, commitment. It's just that upper echelon of martial artist that has not just committed themselves to the sport, but they perform it on such a beautiful high level that they're, cleaning up at competition, but they're also a really good representation of what it is to be a good human being. So that's the whole culture behind Bushido. We like to talk about that at the start of every show to get everybody in the audience on board as well. So it's a cultural experience.
Well, I've heard you say this on another interview too. Like that's also the power of like having really good and dialed in branding, right? Because if you have, if people are able to recognize, oh, I recognize this brand from over here. I know they do a great job at the gym. They're going to do an awesome job at this event. So I'm going to go and buy a ticket, which I think is another way in which, like, if you're trying to figure out ROI, like that's the way in which it can kind of like extend out just beyond your gym.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every gym that we know of in Ontario has now taken on hosting shows, because immediately after you host a show in your community, you're going to see an immediate uptick in free trials, people wanting to check out what you do, people wanting to fight, and then quickly realizing that it's not as easy as it looks. But you get a lot of new bodies in the gym every year. Yeah.
That's what we should do with all the gym management software companies. We should just have a fight night. And
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Gotta start training, but yeah.
Zuck and Elon can talk about it. At least we could talk about it. You don't even actually have to fight.
We can tweet about it.
You just have to talk shit on Facebook and Twitter. So, and I'm great at that. So in the pre-fight activities, I think we're playing to our strengths. So
that is true.
Get 750 gym owners to show up, get paid for it. Sounds nice, Teo. Think about it.
I'm thinking.
Hey, gym owners, are you looking for a way to generate more leads, close more sales, and increase client retention? Introducing Kilo. We are a software company that gives gym owners the tools they need to increase revenue and run a successful gym. With Kilo, you get a beautifully designed website to capture more leads, an integrated marketing automation platform to increase sales, and our gym management software so you can add new client memberships, process payments, and organize your class schedule. If you're ready to upgrade your gym management software, book a call at usekilo.com.
So the design obviously helps. It sounds like the larger events are contracting you to, aside from having professional design. It looks like you posted a ton trying to get people out there. Like, what are you doing to get, 750 people to show up to an event?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, we do run ad campaigns through socials, and that helps us reach people that aren't already following the gym in our network. But we also do a lot of like in-hand tangible stuff. We do events around town. We actually do an annual event in May in our town called Busker Fest, where they invite all kinds of talent out to perform on the street. And our gym is always there with like our highest performing members and our cutest kids. And we all kind of dress up in our gear and we go to town putting on like a really cool, not choreographed, but like pad holding session between our coaches and our members on display for the whole community to music. We like psych up the community, and we always talk about our event a few months before it happens. And then we poster the crap out of our town. So there's always in every storefront, we put up a poster, and people are happy to do that for us. And we've even run radio ads in the past, although we don't do it every year because it's rather expensive. But we probably will play with that again in the future and just see how it works out. We're trying to break that 1,000 person point. We were fairly certain we were going to do it last year based on ticket sales, but it ended up being a heat wave, a pretty drastic heat wave. It was like 35 degrees the night of our show, and we were in a hockey arena with no AC. So despite all the ticket sales, we didn't have everyone buy tickets show up. So that's why our numbers were a little bit lower in person than we anticipated. But, that's one thing you can't predict is the weather. We're just hoping, we're actually coming up with ways we can cool down the arena next year in case the same thing happens again. So we're looking at renting like industrial sized fans and really just getting ahead of the issue to make it, again, as quality as an experience as we can.
Yeah, the Ontario hockey rinks are not taking cooling into consideration. So let's go back and talk about the gym. So the way you kind of described it, what I took from that is branding is something that aids your marketing. So if you do that consistently, it makes marketing easier. As someone who has a strong understanding of brand, how does that play into what you're doing to market the gym? Like how many people work out at your gym, and what do you do to get more of them?
Yeah, it's all about not just visuals, but using words that resonate with people that make them feel like they're already welcome in your community. And I know that different gyms have different cultures, have different demographics, and so they're targeting different people than we are. But one of the exercises that I conducted at my last in-person presentation was I had all the gym owners in the room. I was speaking to a summit of gym owners. Just take a minute to write down 10 to 20 words that they think describe the culture of their gym, and funnel themselves into a brand voice and a brand message that they can adhere to and really refine their messaging throughout all platforms that their brand is present on their website, when they do interviews in person, on social media, of course. There's so many opportunities to speak directly to people and confirm what they're looking for is what you have to offer. So that's something we take very seriously with Boss. I do head the marketing, so my husband and I will write and review things together just to make sure that one of us is not going too off brand with our wacky ideas. Usually it's me. But we will write to our ideal client, which means we don't want egos in the gym. We don't want people coming in thinking that they can just strap on some gloves on their first day and start sparring with people. So we make it very clear through the messaging we choose that we are a respectful community, that we're extremely welcoming, we're inclusive, and anybody can train here of any fitness level. And it's by setting that ground point of entry so low that invites there is really no range to our demographic. We invite everyone in as young as 6 years old who've never done sports before, to people as old as 85 who have a limited range of motion and are struggling with health issues. We can adapt to anyone. So that's our strength in our brand and our message, is that we really do want to make it feel like a family community, and that we support everyone. And make it as easy to get in as possible. And then we can do the refining process of, okay, where do you belong best to serve your goals? Once they've actually completed the free trial, we'll have that selling conversation face to face. We won't try to sell too early. And we actually won't even field questions online or in socials about pricing until we get someone into the gym and they've actually tried a class to see the value. Because we don't want them to judge the value of the offering based on the price point alone. We want them to feel better about themselves after having experienced a class. So these are all very small decisions you can make in your business that all adhere to your specific brand strategy. Now, of course, by comparison, there are revolving door gyms that really just care about numbers and not really retention. And that's not really a strategy we're on board with, but there are some, big brand box brands out there that we technically have to compete with that will undercut us on price every time. And so that's why we have to play to our strengths.
You're talking about writing copy that's inclusive, but how are you distributing it? Is this something you're communicating over socials, through email? Like how are people understanding this message?
Yeah, like our primary messaging platform is social media. It's going to be Instagram and Facebook and even YouTube. We put videos of ourselves up on there where we can talk to our students. They see our faces. But even in our email funnels, I do all the writing for those. And I think it's really important not to get lazy when you feel like, okay, we've already got them in the door. Now we're just going to use AI to write this really quick, welcome message, and just fire that off because we feel like we have to check that box. Take your time in actually confirming their questions before they have to ask them, and that you are still paying attention to their goals and their needs, and that you're always there to talk to them, offer alternate methods of communication so that if they are more comfortable getting on the phone with you, that option is right there. There's always somebody ready to take their call. But again, we really want to crawl into the minds of the lead and anticipate their needs. So that's the driving force of our messaging, and at every touch point we can think of. So we actually have a pretty complex lead funnel where we have a software that creates an automatic task for our staff member to get in touch with the lead in person by phone call, or when they see them in the gym next. We actually send out an SMS text automatically to that lead, and we also send an email. And all of those points of communication are they're concise, they're well thought out, they're well written, they carry the same message, and they're well branded.
I noticed that too. You post your newsletters online on the site too, which I think is, people used to do that. People don't do it anymore, but I think it's nice. It's cool.
Yeah, we do take the time to do a monthly newsletter, and we don't like to just circulate that by email within our student base. We like to put it online, and so the people vetting our gym, and I know that I like to do this. I like to just dig a little bit deeper and find out the culture of a business before I start subscribing to anything. Is I want to know, what are you doing outside of just regular day-to-day operations? And so our newsletter really promotes all of our competitions and all of the travel we're doing, which is a lot. It's monthly we're traveling for competition with our team. So we don't even have to talk about in our ad copywriting or in our social media copywriting, we don't have to talk about how successful our comp team is, because we're pretty proud, and we display it where it's appropriate. So we do talk about those things, those more nuanced things, in gym events. We give credit to grading, students that have just graded. And we just love to talk about our students when they do something spectacular and just make them feel appreciated and seen.
It's pretty visual. A lot of photos in here.
Yeah, we take a lot of photos, and we also hire a lot of photographers too. We're about to do another session in our gym because we haven't had one in since during COVID. So all of our old videos on YouTube have the tape on the mats to separate everyone, and everyone's wearing masks. So we're about to jump in October and have a new videographer in. And that's another point of investment in the business that a lot of gym owners are kind of like standoffish about. But I mean, ultimately, again, you can't measure the ROI on that, but it's obvious once you do it. Like people notice, they talk about it, they share your stuff more often. So people do the work for you. You just put the content out there. If it looks good, if people are proud to be a part of your gym, they're going to carry your stuff for you even further than your ads could reach.
Well, Milena, we're running short on the hour here. Where do people go if they want to find out more about you and your design services?
Yeah, so visit my website. I'm mostly a one-woman show. I have a small team of designers and administrators that back me up, but you'd be working with me one-on-one for any branding work that you feel you might need. But we get on a consult call, and you can schedule that for free on Zoom with me, and I'm happy to look at your brand and hear your story and tell you what I truly feel needs or maybe does not need to be done for your brand to be brought up to a more successful standard to help propel your business forward towards your goals. So you can find me at newbreed.design. That's my website, and you can reach out to me there. And I really love doing branding work. That's probably my greatest passion, because everything feeds off that. That's the foundation of any business, is a really strong and creative and memorable brand. And from there, the rest of the work is easy. So we have a really good time with our clients.
Mateo, why don't you sign us off? Because you're just in such a chipper mood. I really want to hear what you have to say to close out this pod.
Well, if you also want to learn more about how we can help you with your brand and your web presence, you can go to usekilo.com. And also, if you want to help our brand grow online, go to Gymworld and like and subscribe, and give us a nice little comment too, and tell us what you want to hear about next. We've been bringing on gym owners from different corners of the industry, mainly New Jersey and Ontario. Maybe you want a different state in America. Maybe you want a different country. Let us know in the comments. And that's all I really have to say, John. And that I love everyone who likes the show. And even the ones who don't like it. I love them too.
Wow. So inclusive. This is an inclusive podcast.
Yeah.
Well, Gym World, it's been wonderful as always. See you next week.